Hi everyone, I'm back with the fourth lecture in the series that I've been doing on the coronavirus. In this lecture, which will be broken down into either 3 or 4 parts, depending on how fast I go, I'm going to discuss how the human body responds to the viral infection. Up to now, it's been all virus all the time, and the virus, has had the subject on the ropes, so to speak. But today, we're going to start turning the tables on the virus and show how a subject, a human, once they're infected, begins to mount an effective antiviral response to beat back that infection. This will cover the 2 different parts of the immune system that play a major role in fighting a viral infection, and that's the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. And what I'll do in this first part is I'll compare and contrast the 2 different systems. In the next part, I'll discuss in more detail what the innate immune response is, and in the part after that, I'll go into more detail about the adaptive immune response. Now, before I get underway, I would just like to make a brief comment about the immune system. So this is really one of the most spectacular pieces of biology. It's incredibly complicated. I would say it's almost on par, probably second only to the brain and the central nervous system in terms of its complexity. But that's not surprising when you think of what the immune system has to do. It has to be able to surveil our bodies constantly for foreign invaders, and those can be bacteria. They can be eukaryotic parasites like various types of worm infections or protozoa, Giardia, and so forth. Or did I say bacteria or viruses, right? So there's 3 different types of creatures that the immune system has to be surveilling for. And, distinguishing a foreign invader from your own cells in your body is pretty difficult for a variety of reasons, not the least being that all aspects of life are constructed from essentially similar molecules, from fats to make membranes, proteins, nucleic acids, and sugars that are often found on proteins that are embedded within membranes. And so, it's a very difficult task that the immune system has to be going out and looking among trillions and trillions of cells for a very small number of potential invaders. And it's for that reason that the system is extremely complex. However, I'm going to try to cut through that complexity and only give you, a view of a small part of the system that's probably of most relevance to beating back a coronavirus infection. So, don't be intimidated by the potential complexity of the subject matter that I'm going to cover. And I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So let's do the compare and contrast exercise. So we have the innate immune system, and we have the adaptive immune system. The innate immune system is ancient. You can actually see innate immunity in simple organisms. For example, like fruit flies have an innate immune system to protect them from virus and bacterial infections. You can even see aspects of innate immune system inside of single-celled organisms, and certainly plants also have an innate immune system. Meanwhile, the adaptive immune system is much more recent. It's only found in vertebrates. And it evolved over the last few 100 million years. Still reasonably old, but not nearly as ancient as the innate immune system. The other characteristic I'll cover is where they stand in terms of the lines of defense. This is really the first line. So if you have a breach, for example, in your skin because you have a wound and bacteria can enter into that wound, the innate immune system mounts a very, very rapid response to try to prevent those bacteria from multiplying, infecting cells, and causing problem. Now, the adaptive immune system, on the other hand, is more of a second-line system. It takes time to mount an adaptive immune response. It takes maybe on the order of a week or two, but once that response is mounted, it's very, very powerful. It's very specific and very powerful. So, the innate immune system tries to keep things at bay to give time for the adaptive immune system to kick in and really go to town on the invader that's come into the body. The other thing that I'll note is that the innate immune system doesn't learn. It doesn't change what it does. If you have an infection today, or an infection next month, the innate response, it's not really fine-tuned to the nature of the infection. It's sort of a knee-jerk response to the infection. And it doesn't learn from a prior infection, all right? So you pretty much get a similar response from one infection to another. On the other hand, the adaptive system adapts, and hence its name. It learns from prior experience. So, if you've had an infection with a certain microbe, for example, you'll mount an adaptive immune response to that, and then you have memory in your body of that prior infection, so that if that infectious agent ever comes into you again, you get a very rapid adaptive immune response to protect you from it. And that's absolutely critical to the operation of this system, is having that memory. It takes time to build that memory, but once you have it, you can be protected, in some cases, for a lifetime. And that's the basis of vaccines. Finally, in terms of its discriminatory power, the innate immune system is what I would call coarse-grained. Now, what do I mean by that? The innate immune system is not so great at, let's just say you have a foreign infection from a bacteria that releases a bacterial protein. Well, the innate immune system isn't so good at distinguishing that bacterial protein from one of your own proteins, right? It can't tell that, that's a bacterial protein, there's a problem here. It is designed to look for classes of molecules that exist in microbes and pathogens, but that don't exist in your body. So, for example, the types of molecules that build up a bacterial cell wall, that those types of molecules can be detected and they trigger an innate immune response. So, it's more of a limited number of types of molecules that it can detect and react against. Meanwhile, the adaptive immune system has very fine resolution. So it can distinguish very subtle differences. So, for example, you can change one of your proteins by one amino acid, and that could be one amino acid out of 500. So it's 499 out of 500 identical, but the adaptive immune system in some cases can see that one difference and say, there's something wrong here, there's something different, and it's foreign, and we need to, mobilize against it. And that's the awesome power of the adaptive immune system. And it explains why, you have to be very careful with transplanting tissues from one person to another, because that system is designed to see those differences and will react sometimes in a pretty vigorous manner that could really compromise the individual. So, these are both play very important roles in biology. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on subsets of these systems and the parts that I think are most relevant for thinking about coronavirus and for thinking about how we might build therapies to treat coronavirus infection. And with that, I will close this first segment of lecture number 4. And I'll come back with a second segment that's going to focus on the innate immune system.